Welcome to the Developing Dads podcast. This is episode number 80, Neil, on the cards for our Developing Dads podcast. I don't know where I was going with that, but it's another milestone hitting. I mean, we're getting closer to that. Are we going to do something good for the 100?
I'd quite like to do something in Sky, whether it's like an extra episode that we release when it's 100 or something. I don't know what, but some nice scenic view or some. We
should try and get Chris Williamson on the podcast, and we'll just fly out to Texas and do a pod with him.
I've got an idea. How about we try and do a pod while kayaking?
If we collapse or fall in, then you're reimbursing me for all the equipment, because that'd be a few £100. That'd be nearly £1,000 just gone in the water.
I think,
which I wouldn't really be up for, to be perfectly honest, because it's not.
I've lost.
I would say £1,000. It's probably close to that amount. It's going to be at least a few quid if one of us capsizes and it goes into the water. So I think I'd probably rather avoid that, if I'm honest.
Yeah, but kayak's the wrong word. There's a Canadian canoe, which they're pretty big, pretty versatile things, and like we wouldn't be going anywhere. We'd just be like on the ocean.
Oh, okay. So we just sat there doing a pod, and that's what you want to do. That's the
with a backdrop
the level you want us to get to for
100
for our 100th episode.
I'm not sure Chris Williamson would be on the podcast for episode 100.
I mean, I could try. I could probably get a direct email.
Yeah.
You don't fancy it? Would you, if we managed to secure a Chris Williamson podcast, would you be?
Oh, well,
would you be up for it?
Yeah.
All right. Who's funding the trip to Texas?
I'll swim.
Right. Good one. Anyway, yes, welcome to episode number 80 of the Developing Dads podcast. Neil's bought some playing cards that have some questions on them from a diary of a CEO, Mr. Stephen Bartlett. So we're going to use those as inspiration to be able to discuss whatever comes up on the cards, because apparently they're conversational cards at dinner things, even though we're recording this on a Sunday morning, having a coffee. So we're going to use those as kind of our topic for discussion overall. Did you have anyone mention the last pod? Anyone touch on anything?
Don't think so, actually. No, nobody.
Oh, have you ever had anyone kind of mention the pod and be like, that was controversial?
Maybe not controversial, but normally like, oh, I agree with that, or it's nice to hear other dad's perspective, or it's good I'm not alone type chat.
Oh, wow. That's quite the influence. Either way, for those that are potentially new listeners who have never listened to the podcast before, this is a conversation between two bros. So essentially, we like to try and have a catch up and see what we've been up to. Not all pod worthy. Like afterwards, we do have a conversation with stuff that's not covered in the podcast, but we do make sure that we ask each other how we are and what we've been up to. So yeah, Neil, what you been doing?
What I've been doing? It's probably been about a week, right? If not longer, because we recorded the podcast in London on Tuesday last week, so it's been longer. I don't know, just still enjoying the weather. Like lots of barbecues. Yesterday we had a couple of friends round for a barbecue. Friday I went to pick up a puppy with our mother. They've now got a Labradoodle, Australian Labradoodle. Very, very cute. Name's Bobby. He's 12 or 9 weeks old. And the kids are just obsessed. They're like every 5 minutes, when can we go and see Bobby again? That's quite nice. But yeah, apart from that, it's just been pretty chilled. Like I'm kind of winding down because I've got 2 weeks off, which is exciting. Lots planned for the 2 weeks coming up. Got 1 week left of work, and then I'm off for 2 weeks. And July is looking absolutely ram-packed with lots of social events, weddings, trips to Skye, trips camping. Like we've pretty much planned the whole 7 weeks for the kids in summer. So,
wow,
it's cool. But it's I'm trying to think if there's anything dramatic or there's the looming sickness bug going around, and you'll start learning this when you get into kind of primary school age of like the kids, and like you hear from the parents chat, oh yeah, the whole family had it a couple of days ago, and like the people that were around yesterday they've got a sickness bug, and yeah, it's just like, oh, when's it going to hit our family? We've got a wedding next weekend. Is it going to be, just bang on that wedding date? Who knows?
You know when we were talking about trying to get Chris Williamson on the podcast? Well, the idea was really behind the fact that he talks a lot about birth rates, right, and issues with birth rates.
Yeah.
Now, when you talk about circulating sickness bugs, and that's all you talk about between other parents, it's not exactly a stellar 5-star review for having kids, is it? Like this was the premise of the podcast I thought we could do with him is kind of more around the idea like let's talk about, negative birth rates and probably how shit having kids is. How do we promote it? How do we go on a battle bus campaign of being like, this is horrific a lot
Start
of
reproducing.
time.
Yeah.
But ultimately it is the most satisfying thing you'll ever do. Anyway, anything else?
We've done a podcast on like the best things about being a dad, which I think was quite a nice one. Anything
Which has
else?
reached a total of about 35 listeners. So,
anything else? I don't know. That's it. That's enough for me. But I'm doing good.
okay, that's nice.
How are you doing?
You forgot to mention it was Father's Day last Sunday.
Oh yeah.
What did you do?
What did I do? Father's Day, just like Rebecca did a nice breakfast for me, and she got me some nice kind of gifts, or the kids got me them. But yeah, what did we do? Long pause.
But memorable, clearly.
Yeah, I mean it's a week ago. I'm just gonna check my calendar, see if there's anything in it. Father's Day. Yeah. That's annoying. I think
riveting section on the podcast. Absolutely riveting.
Nice breakfast. Quality family time. I think we went to a park or something probably, and we had dinner at our parents' house. Mum and Dad invited us over.
Very good. Yeah, what did I get up to last week? So Laura organised a couple of nights away in Whitstable, which is near the Kent coast. So it's kind of like, there's lots of seaside towns kind of along that area, slightly outside of where we are. So it was really nice. So we did 2 days there, and we went, had some lobster and some oysters, and it's famous for oysters around there.
Lovely.
We had some ice cream and some beers, and just had a really nice sort of family little getaway, I guess, just the three of us. It's such a different experience when you take kids on holiday, isn't it, Neil? And it's just you.
Yeah, massive.
It's a totally different experience in that, she obviously slept in the same room as us, which has its own perils, where you're terrified to move because you don't want them to wake up.
How do you sleep?
And it's,
I find I don't sleep very well. Like in Skye, we're away to share a caravan.
I mean, the alcohol helped. I slept okay. I think it's more, you're tiptoeing in a sense, like, because the bed was also creaky. So every time I moved, either Laura told me off or I was very aware of the fact that the bed was creaky. So that was kind of part of it. And yeah, it's a new bed, new experience and everything. So I think one of the things I mentioned, next time we go away, we have a separate room for Olivia. So we get a 2-bed rather than just a 1-bed if we can. Just because of the fact that I think it gives us so much more freedom to move around. Like, she was in the same room, so the bathroom was in the bedroom as well. So it was like you have to, don't wake up, I need to go for a wee. So, but it's just a different experience because it's kind of, there's no, like, usually on holiday when you're unencumbered and you're free singletons, or you're free, you got together, you're kind of, you just wake up and you decide to go and do something, right?
Yeah, or lay in bed a little bit longer, or
at whatever time, whenever, what's happening, who cares about the weather, it doesn't matter, we're just going to do it. But it's just a completely different military operation when it comes to carrying a kid around, right?
Yeah.
So, but that was fun. Like, it's a really nice time because you all get to spend time together and get to enjoy each other and just hang out, really, to be honest, which is cool. We went for a really long walk for like an hour and a half from one town to the next, which was really, really nice. And then came back, felt like a really short week as well, because we came back. Olivia stayed Tuesday night at Nana and Gramps, and then she was straight back with us on the Wednesday. And then Wednesday I was in Wigan doing a shoot, which was fun. Like it's fun. It's fun. Like I like doing the filming thing in person now, but there's just something about when I'm traveling now. I'm like, do I need to travel?
The logistics and everything, yeah. The time out.
Do I need to? And the issue is like when you travel now, if something goes wrong with the train, like it did, like something happened on the train on the way home, it was like it took me 6 hours to get home.
Wow, and what should it have taken?
Less than 3.
Oh man.
And you're just like, it's just not productive. It's not nice. It's not fun. So that was kind of like, that was a bit of a day where, it is what it is, but I didn't like it. So I don't know. I don't know if I need to reassess things or look at stuff and think about it, but it was just kind of like, is the travel worth it? Kind of not. So we'll have a think. But yeah, I am actually trying to think of projects in the year, to the end of the year, that I might quite fancy doing. That would be kind of like, bucket list tick ones, which if I was not to get paid for them, would I still do them? Because that's like part of work isn't necessarily just earning money, right?
Yeah.
There's also a pleasure that comes from doing the job or doing the thing. So, although I enjoy the agency stuff that I'm building, I enjoy the mentorship stuff that I'm doing. That's like all like really good and fun. But equally, it's not the core of like how I started and what I was doing. And there's probably a couple of projects that I might try and wangle myself into.
Could you not say something like, "Oh, film it for free," but if you want your reels and content, then
there's a bunch of things, like even just covering expenses, like cover my flights and my hotels. So there's a couple of things that I think I'm going to reach out to and see what they think.
Nice.
Then we had a pretty full week, recorded a couple more podcasts on my other new podcast I haven't quite launched yet. I need to get that all sorted. And then on Friday was kind of like I'm finding like having a free day in the calendar that's work related, but it's just an empty calendar is actually really nice. So I've been quite bullish about trying to like hold on to that, because normally I would say yes to like meetings and other little bits and pieces, but sometimes when I've got nothing in the calendar, it's so good. Like
when I used to work Fridays, we had a meeting free Friday every week. So like in the whole organization, you could not arrange a meeting on a Friday, it was really nice.
It is, and I think there's something about I think Ryan Holiday, your fangirl person, he has a book called "Stillness is the Key."
Yeah, yep.
And it's true. Like it's weird how we can fill our diaries with so much stuff we were doing to make ourselves feel like we're worth something.
Yeah, moving the dial, but you're probably not moving the dial.
Yeah, exactly. And to just sit there and do like have nothing in the diary and just be like, what I want to do, let's do that. Or usually I do actually try and have let's turn it into a creativity day or a thinking day where I'm like, what am I doing? How much is it costing me? Can I either outsource it? Can I re-systematize it? Can I make it better? Can I make it faster? And when you have that time just to sit there and be like, there's no other distractions or no other things.
Yeah.
Oh man, it's ridiculous. And I don't need it all the time. I don't need it every single week. And I don't know how that would relate to family life. Do you need as a parent just to be able to sit there and do nothing and think about your family and what your values are, or because it's too easy to not do that, right?
Yeah.
Like family life is literally the opposite of that.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I mean, we certainly realised that if we've had a busy week with the kids, or yesterday was pretty full on, like they're now sitting in front of the TV for an hour or so just to chill. And I think that's important. But in terms of me getting time away to, I go on my runs and stuff, but I wouldn't say I necessarily carve out to think strategy for the family.
Yeah. But I guess there's family stuff in the sense of when I was in my 20s, I guess I maybe thought about a year or two ahead, or maybe 6 months ahead, probably not even that. But now, because we've got a family, I'm thinking 10 years ahead, right? Because you've got school years and where you're going to live and how that's going to affect them and all that kind of stuff, right? So there's kind of just a bit more responsibility to think about it. And I guess that thought can't really be done with the kids because they're too young. And then it's sometimes, I think, good to bring the idea to your partner rather than you both come up with the idea together, maybe. I don't know. Maybe that's wrong. What do you think?
Yeah, I definitely feel like we discuss longer term things. Like we recently secured a mortgage for the next 5 years. So like we're kind of committing to living in this vicinity for 5 years. What's the pros and cons of that? Like what's the upsides, downsides and all that kind of stuff. And then like, well, I haven't really mentioned on the pod, but I'm going into a new role with work, probably September time. So that kind of opened up maybe a bit more avenue in terms of a different kind of property and more money and bigger mortgage. And it's like, do we actually want to do that? Do we just stay where we are? And like, yeah, so we're definitely, Gordon's nodding. Yes, we're definitely like looking at options, but then we're looking at like the 5-10 year plan.
Nice. Well,
like
yeah.
Also seeing like how old Isla's going to be, almost 16, like 14, 15 in 5 years, which is mad. So like, what's her social circle going to be like? Is she going to be like, obviously in high school? Where's the high school located? All that kind of stuff you can take into consideration.
Again, I don't think we're promoting this whole dad thing very well.
I think it's got to be real though. It's got to be real.
It does. It's got to be real. So that was kind of like the Friday thing. And then yesterday, I did swimming with Olivia, which just feels really like again, it goes back to the point of the traveling thing, right? If I'm going to go and travel for friggin' 4, 5, 6 hours to go somewhere to go and film a client or do a thing, it needs to have a greater upside, or at least close to an upside of if I'm sacrificing swimming lessons with Olivia, then what's it benefiting me and the family? And it's just it's hard to beat that. And I don't think it ever will, but it's kind of like there's got to be a balance, right? And it's got to weigh enough towards, like, it can't weigh too much on one side. Like taking Olivia for swimming is just the most incredible thing and best thing I ever do, and I don't want to sacrifice it. Versus I'm kind of making some money, it's paying for something, but then the balance is just too weighted towards Olivia, right? It doesn't work. But if the weight comes up a little bit from a work thing, then at least it's closer to balance. And yeah, anyway, I'm rambling. And then Laura was out last night on a hen do.
Wow. So she's staying away, or is she back now with a sore head?
Well, she's back with a sore head. taking.
And you're at 8:30 recording a podcast with your brother.
Yeah. Well, I technically already agreed, and technically the evening was supposed to finish by like 6, 7 o'clock. But she was always having loads of fun, and I was just like, look, I'll wake up with Olivia in the morning and just take care of it. But I kind of need to do this pod, get it out of the way, and record it for this week. So she's currently, I suspect she's in front of some Peter Rabbit at the moment. And then I'm looking after her for the rest of the day because Laura's off to a baby shower thing. So why am I not invited to a baby shower? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, like, why doesn't dads have baby showers?
Exactly. Yeah, Neil. Why don't dads have baby showers?
Maybe that's the next episode.
Campaigning for dads having a baby shower.
Equality.
Oh, you'd look great in a dress.
Like some of these baby showers you see, like especially on Instagram and stuff, and influencer scene, like they just go all out. It's like a wedding. It's like,
yeah, but it's a status thing, right?
Yeah,
it's all status. Like I was talking to a person, someone, they'll remain anonymous, the other week, and we were talking about cars. Bear in mind that this person's quite young, or youngish, not that young actually. We're talking about cars, and I love cars. Like, you've known that I've been obsessed with like Formula One. Going to the Monaco Grand Prix would just be like one of my absolute dreams. Oh, by the way, I looked at that. How much do you think a ticket is for a paddock pass in Formula One is?
I don't know, £900.
Add a zero.
Wow. And what's paddock?
Oh, you get to walk the pit lane.
Yeah.
You get to go to the pit lane and like hang out with like the cars and.
Wow.
It's like it's a way to properly do it, right? Like if you're going it, you don't want to sit in the stands.
Yeah.
So yeah, $9,000 for some of them, between 5 to 10 grand for some of them. Sad. Anyway, I love cars, and I'd love to have a nice car one day, and I will, hopefully. But I've kind of taken the idea, or I carry the idea that if I can't quite buy the car in cash, then am I like you're not really affording it. You're just kind of borrowing, and it just doesn't feel right for me. If people are into leases and all that kind of stuff, then fair play. But buy the car, it then just quickly limits what you're fundamentally going to be able to buy, right? So we've got this Hyundai Tucson, whatever it is, and it's champagne color, which is basically a fancy word for beige. 50k miles on it, bought it secondhand, blah blah blah, right? But I got it cash, and it's our car. We don't have any monthlies on it. And we were chatting to him about this car thing, and he was like, "Oh, I wouldn't be seen dead in it. I like my nice car." And you're kind of like, "Oh, right, okay, fair enough," but how's that going to pay off in the future? Not at all. In fact, it's going to depreciate and just suck cash out of you. And it's like, I was just getting in my head of this idea that it's just, a lot of these things are all status games, right? We've kind of talked about this stuff in the books, and it's just, it's hard to see people doing that. Like, you don't need to do that. You don't need to have a baby shower that's basically as expensive as a wedding. Like, it's ridiculous, and then you boil it down and you're like, it's even the Skyless Sky, for example. We could have spent thousands and thousands of pounds flying off somewhere, and it's all really nice and bougie and blah blah blah. And sure, like, you'll probably get nicer food, and you might get some nicer drinks, and you might get some better sunshine and not get bitten by midges. But it's a bit different though, isn't it? The core of it is family thing, right? Not necessarily how much money I can spend.
Yeah, no, I think you're dead right. The cars around here, there's definitely a status game playing in some of the families, which is quite interesting to see.
Very unnecessary. And there's you, with your wagon that can carry 3 full men, tools, and flooring.
Okay, I actually carry five full men.
5 full men, not half men.
No, and we got an upgrade for the car. Yes, 2 days ago. A 580 litre roof box. I'm going full dad mode.
You're one of the most boring people I know, and you're my brother.
You should see it though.
Actually, to be fair, Neil, right? You can take me apart for this one, right? It's my 36th birthday next weekend. Okay, this time next week I'll be 36. Okay, what do you think I got for my birthday? I got an early present from Laura. What do you think? What do you think it was? Have a guess.
A fancy barbecue apron.
Right, so it's definitely barbecue. Keep going.
Barbecue gloves.
No, okay, we're going to get through all of this. Basically, it's a cast iron Dutch oven.
Wow, I thought that was the green egg.
No, the green egg is the ceramic barbecue.
Okay.
Cast iron Dutch oven is a Dutch oven is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I got one of them. So it sits in the green egg.
Oh wow, cool. So
see, you think it's cool? You are boring.
What are you going to make with it?
So it's like a slow pot kind of cooking thing. So today I'm going to do a barbacoa beef thing in it. So it's like a slow cooked. You're supposed to put it in the slow cooker, but I reckon you can adapt the recipe and stick it in the big green egg. And the big green egg, because of the temperatures it can hold, but also because of like the flavors that come from the charcoal and stuff like that, I'm curious to see if it tastes better than the slow cooker. And we're gonna have barbacoa tacos tonight. Nice.
Have you been watching Barbecue Showdown on Netflix?
I haven't, but I feel like I need to.
Well, it's the Bake Off for barbecues.
Oh God, yeah.
There's 2 seasons.
Put it on my new TV.
It's phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
Right. There is actually something you probably quite like this, Neil. So you've got a kettle barbecue, don't you?
Yeah.
So have you ever heard of something called a kasai?
No.
So a kasai is like a small ceramic. Is it small ceramic Japanese barbecue? And it uses these special white coals. That would definitely be something you'd love. That. And it's like you get a medium-sized one. It basically just grills, obviously, like steaks and chicken and all that sorts of bits and pieces. But it just uses a bit less fuel. It's a little bit more efficient. It's a bit smaller. It's obviously cheaper than a big green egg, but it's very good.
Yeah, I'll check that out. Akasai. I think that's mentioned in the Barbecue Showdown.
Yeah, it's used by Michelin star chefs.
Nice.
So I quite fancy one of them too. never ending. It's never ending. Anyway, Neil, we're supposed to get into the topic of our podcast today. It doesn't have any specific topic. It's just Neil has decided to buy. You tell me, like, talk us through what you bought it for. Like, what's the talk through this?
I've seen them for a long time, and they're getting like I didn't realize it was a limited run, so now they're sold out. He's not making them again. So that kind of pressured me, pressured me into buying them. 25 quid, and there's 52 conversation cards. If you're on YouTube's, the box is like kind of matte finished. It's got magnet clips, so it's like holds nicely. The cards are quite just quite nice. It's well made, so it's not like I think it's worth 25 quid. Anyway, if you're not familiar with the Diary of a CEO, at the end of every episode, he'll ask the guest to write in a book the question for the next guest. So, for example, if James Watt was on it, he would have to answer the question from the previous guest, and then he would set a question for the next guest. So you can get, and it's all in like the person's handwriting, which is nice. It's the question and the person who wrote it, and then you get to see the answer on a QR code at the back. So yeah, it's just really, really well done. And some of the questions are pretty deep. And there's like from Matt Hancock's putting a question in, and James Watt and Fern Cotton, Bear Grylls, and like there's just hundreds of different, not hundreds, but 52 different kind of famous people on them. So I chose 4 different cards. We'll see how fast we can get through them. Can choose more. Haven't done any prep. Neither's Gordon. So it's a bit like, yeah, I'll read the card. We can discuss, and we'll take it from there.
Glorious, Neil. That was fantastic. Thank you very much. First
card is from Jessie J, who I think is a famous singer. What is your mood right now? We've kind of delved into it, but I wanted to go a bit deeper in terms of, we always say we're good, we're fine, and there's a kind of, not a famous thing, but somebody said that you should always ask somebody, how are you, twice, to kind of get the real answer. So Gordon, what is your mood right now?
I mean, I've just had a cup of coffee and it's starting to kick in. So there's sometimes, I don't know whether this is a reflection of the world that we live in now, but I feel like we put too much onus on right now.
Yeah.
And I say that because like happiness or I am happy, basically, is my mood right now. But to expand on it, it's like I'm happy now because of because of a building of stuff that's gone really well so far. And that's not to say that I haven't been happy every day, or every time you'd asked me, "Are you happy right now?" I wouldn't necessarily say yes.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean it's a bad thing, right? Because it's about a net outcome. Like your life, 80 years, 90 years, 100 years that you live for, if you were to say, I've had a good life or a bad life, there'll be times in that 100 years that you'll say, I'm having a bad life. But it's about over the 100 years net outcome of, well, how many good times did you have versus how many bad times? So yeah, I find it difficult to answer questions that are about, like, I think we put too much onus now as a society on right now. How do you feel right now? You know, especially from a mental health perspective as well.
Yeah, no, I think I agree. And I think the realization, we speak about it in a lot of episodes, that like mood and feeling, it comes in seasons. Like I think in general, you and the season might be quite short, the season might be quite long, but realizing that it's probably going to finish, and that kind of, I mean, to talk about at the start of the podcast, the 5-year plan is like, if I do this thing now, in 5 years' time, is it going to have any kind of benefit or make me happy?
It's very circumstantial. Right now is very, like, if I just had an argument with Laura, right now my mood would be a bit weird.
Yeah.
If I'd just gone for a run, I'd feel tired or elated or whatever else.
Yeah.
Or, so it's kind of, I don't know. I think as a society, we could probably pull a little bit away from the idea of just reactive, like right now, what's happening right now, because we get the news all the time. I'm finding out about Wagner Group in Russia and Ukraine and all the stuff that's going on there, and then I can literally type in Google and find out what's going on in the stock market, Bitcoin. Like I can do everything right now, which can immediately affect my mood right now. But how would I feel about it in a week's time or a month's time? And realistically, you'll then be like, well, nobody fucking cares. like it's nothing to do with me. I can't influence it. But ultimately, like the things that are influencing my mood or if I've spent time with Olivia, if I've spent time with Laura, if I've said hello to you, if I've had a nice meal. You know?
Yeah.
Is that fair? How's your mood right now?
Yeah. I would say, yeah, just mirror your answer, really. I'm happy, I'm content, but it comes and goes. And like this morning, I've probably gone through, I don't know, 3 or 4 different stages of my mood. Woke up, me and Isla took a nice early dog walk. She was in a great mood. We were probably out for 45 minutes an hour. And she came back and Lewis was sitting in her seat in the living room and all hell just broke loose. So my mood went from like really, really happy, content, satisfied to like, what the hell's going on? So yeah, you're right. Like things changed dramatically, but bigger picture, I think I'm content. I'm good. I'm looking forward to my holiday. 2 weeks off.
Nice.
The next question is by a chap called Johan Harry.
Johan Harry.
So you've heard of him then?
Yes.
Made some good, wrote some good books. Lost Connections. He's got a very good TED Talk, which I've listened to a couple of times. Anyway, his question is, what would you like to pay attention to that you don't currently pay attention to, and why?
The first thing that springs to mind is YouTube. I think that what, again, I go back to that conversation we were having about like filling your diary with stuff. I think I fill my diary with stuff that's today, like stuff that affects my day today. Not necessarily focusing on enough things that focus on my tomorrow. You know, like what am I doing that can lead me down a certain path and going somewhere. And like I keep saying YouTube and I keep saying I'm going to do it. I keep saying I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. But because it's like brand building or I can see the power of equity in owning a bunch of YouTube videos and having a YouTube channel and how it pays off. Like there was something I was talking about with a friend of mine and we were discussing the fact that 10, 12 years ago when I was talking about crap on the internet, it now pays off like today.
Yeah.
And it pays off today because it is because I've built up a know, like, and trust aspect of things and a reputation. And no matter what I sell, as long as the product's good, obviously, like there's all that caveat. But at the end of the day, there's that brand equity that you've built of yourself, that reputation, that integrity that then bleeds into whatever else you do. So it's like YouTube, in a sense, is kind of that thing that I was doing, say, some years ago, or the consistency of some sort of like brand building aspect of things some years ago was really good. But now it's just not. I'm not paying attention to it right now, and I think I feel I should be. I should be doing that because that will then maybe pay off in 10 years, or even more so because YouTube videos are assets, just like buying stocks and shares in a company. And they'll sit there and make money.
Yeah. Nice. When I think about this one, I think about Rebecca and I's relationship, which is, I guess quite a deep thing, but when you're in the midst of having children and, again, selling the benefits of having kids, life just gets chaotic and you kind of forget to pay attention to each other and communication and all that good stuff. So, yeah, we're it's something that we're going to be more mindful of, and we want to make a reason. And I guess the why of why we're not paying attention is, as I mentioned, life's chaos. And we've got a busy few weeks we've been planning for, and kids just seem to rule every waking minute. And then when it gets to evening time, you want to spend time to each other. You're both just knackered, and you just want to get to bed. So, yeah, I just being more intentional and paying attention to each other more about how we're feeling, building. And interestingly, we're talking about these connection or these cards, the conversation cards, and on the back of it says vulnerability is the door to connection, which I think is quite a strong statement. And in terms of talking about communication and stuff, there's talking to somebody with a very high level stuff like, oh, how you doing, or garden needs done, or just the kind of frivolous stuff. But then there's also going a bit deeper in terms of being vulnerable with each other. And yeah, so that's my cup of tea.
Yeah, because I think part of it goes back to, like, you can't really plan love.
Yeah.
And that's the hard part about that's the hard part about having kids, right? Is that because the kids dominate basically every thought process and everything, you have to schedule your relationship, and that takes the whole thing. That kind of takes quite a lot of it, a lot out of the whole kind of serendipity. You know, there's the love thing where it's just stuff happens, and I guess you take that for granted when you're unencumbered, you don't have kids or anything like that, right? So I find that particularly hard in, planning a date night or planning something,
Planning a chat or
yeah, like, oh, we should do this when this happens. That's not how love happens, is it? It's not.
Yeah.
It's not a relationship. So I think there's a kind of a balance again of you do commit to a schedule of this is when we have our time, and that's protected. And whatever happens in that time, it happens. It's just that time is protected. I think that's, and I'm not saying that we do this, but I feel like it's something that could work. And then you just allow something to happen as part of it. And I think grandparents and stuff like play such a strong role in the ability to help that happen.
Yeah, massively.
Because especially like Dave and Denise, they're just so good at doing things like that. Like when I think I was away, I was working. Laura was obviously pretty knackered. She had a busy week. And then Laura's dad was like, oh, I'll come down and get Olivia I'll take her to the park. It's like 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning, Sunday or Saturday. But that just gives Laura like an hour to herself, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And the difference, you know how that feels when someone just goes, hey, I'll take the kids for an hour. See you later.
Yeah.
Go and chill out. Totally different, isn't it? So I guess what I'm saying is just that balance of like, it's hard to plan because you have to plan now to love each other or find love.
Sow the seeds.
But ultimately, I think you just have to do that now, and that's part of adult life. And you just see what happens on the day that you protect. You should hire a babysitter now that you're a multimillionaire, Neil.
September. Cleaner. I think cleaner is the first thing we're going to be getting.
Right. Fair. Okay.
Yeah, cleaning.
I mean, you could you not have any like friends that have got like teenage sons, probably daughters, but that could get paid a tenner for slave labor.
We've got mum and dad.
You do have mum and dad. Yeah, they could be helpful.
That's good. I like that one. The next question is, and I don't know, you might know this chap. I don't know him. Michael Acton Smith.
Maybe I'll have to look him up. Yeah, go on.
The question, if Gordon looks him up, we can get a bit of a bio from him. But anyway, the question is, what is the greatest gift another human has given you?
Greatest gift another human has given me. Acton Smith. Michael Acton Smith is he's an OBE, co-founder of Calm.
Oh yeah, that's like a meditation app.
Yeah. So what was the question again?
What is the greatest gift another human has given you? I've got my answer.
I mean, it's kind of like I'll give you two. What is the great? Like, there's probably quite a few gifts. Can I list more than one?
No, we're just having one.
Oh, I'm going to do more than one. I'll do what I want. The first one is. You can tell me if it's not. Is Laura's gift of Olivia to me? Is it a gift?
Is it a gift? Yeah, I see both sides of the coin.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know if it is a gift. But yeah, I would say that like
you should probably caveat that with like, you love Olivia and it was amazing and.
But it's kind of like the gift of a dad, I guess, not the actual baby or the person. It's like Laura chose me to be with her, and then she wanted to have a baby with me, and that's her giving me that pleasure, I think, is what a gift is, right?
Yeah.
So that's got to be the number one. It's like becoming a father, becoming a dad, because it takes trust, it takes effort, it takes patience, it takes all these kind of things, right? So that's probably definitely the major one. The other one was the other one actually was, and I don't think she actually meant to do this. Was our grandmother on our mum's side. Remember, they gave, like, we got inheritance of like £10,000.
Yeah.
So it was like split. So because it was given to mum technically, and then she gave us 10 grand each from it, right? And that as a gift is that totally set me up, because that set me up in that I was able to then buy the first house that I ever purchased, and I've still got that today. But it meant that I could put money into something that grew. And it's expanded into now, multiple six figures in terms of the overall equity that's in it. So, like, a gift of money, although it's kind of slightly fickle, if you use it in the right way, it can change your life. Change your trajectory and what you're doing. And, the house that we're literally in right now, the one that we extended, we did some work on, we've done all the things that I now nurture Olivia in, is because of that 10 grand, really.
Wow, that's a very wholesome answer, Gordon.
And then the last one.
You've got three.
Yeah, three. I said three. And the last one is, and it seems silly, but like, it does seem silly, but bear with me. The big green egg was a gift. And there's lots of moments, like cooking is like one of these things where you're able to bring lots of people together to enjoy something, and that has conversations, it has feeling, it has meaning, it has all these kind of things. Maybe I'm totally expanding on this too much, but the big green egg has been a real occasion for like family to come together. Like last Christmas, I did the turkey on it. I've had friends over, like when COVID sort of was relaxing or whatever else. It was a real excuse to do something a bit more spectacular than just kind of put something in the oven, right?
Yeah.
And I've had so many great conversations after cooking something in it. I've had great compliments, so you feel quite useful and capable of doing something about the things that I've cooked on it. I enjoy the family time that comes with it. It just there's so much of it that just I really enjoy. That's outside of it just being a silly big barbecue, but it's because it's a centerpiece. It's an excuse to invite people over. It's an excuse to do stuff, and food and meals and stuff are just a really fun thing to do, I guess. But yeah, that's what I would say.
Nice. Wow. Three quite deep ones. Mine's deep. I've only got one of them. Is the gift of love. So, and obviously Rebecca gave me this in my eyes, but yeah, it's just that realization and that feeling of love, I think, is amazing. And then going back to the kind of kids thing, are the kids a gift? And that comes with a different kind of love, and we've talked about that in an episode. But yeah, I think the greatest gift I've been given is love.
Great.
Definitely not going into the detail you went into. I was trying to think, like, when you were answering the question, I was like, what other, like, is there any? I mean, obviously, I got the same money. I bought a car with it, and it went, like, I think half of it was the car, half of it was a deposit for the house in Inch. Yeah, like, the car got me around, which is nice. Gordon's camera's gone wild.
Is it? All right. Sorry, I'm still here.
I can still hear you. Yeah, so yeah, I liked how you kind of strung that £10,000 into the property, and then what's that now kind of given you elsewhere?
I mean, cool. in fairness, you didn't necessarily have the best time with the purchase of a house or a flat, and the side effect of it all. I could have easily gone down a different route, and it would have been worse. But there was a bunch of luck that attached to that. But at the end of the day, it still was a gift that resulted in something happening, right? Or
yeah, that makes sense. The next question, or the last question we've got, is what is the greatest wealth in your life? And it's by Bear Grylls, who we know he's a kind of adventurer person. I mean, I've read his book. He's done a hell of a lot in his life. And he's been in the SAS. He's now the head of Scouts, which is the biggest group in the world for keeping boys and girls now active and outdoors. He's the president of that. So yeah, what is the greatest wealth in your life?
Time. You know, I have got to this point I am now where I can design my day. You know, I can design my week. I can design my month. I can essentially design my life. You know, there's still obviously things that I have to do. That's not to say that I'm free of that yet. But when I look at when I sort of see other people working and what they're doing and that are of the same kind of age as me, most of them are in a job, just like you are, Neil, where you are instructed to turn up at a certain time. You're instructed to kind of finish at a certain time, and you're also instructed to do a certain amount of work across the entire week. And there isn't really any choice. You know, there's no, tomorrow I'm not going to do anything, or I'll start at 11 o'clock, or I'll finish at 3 p.m. You know, we could talk about like that balance that an employer can give you, but at the end of the day, it's still an exchange of time for money, right? So I guess now I feel, because of the way that I've set work up and the way that I've, you know, gone about the whole career thing, I have an immense amount of flexibility in my time. Yeah, you know, I can go for lunch on a Wednesday afternoon. I can work all day Friday. I can work all day Sunday. I can take a Saturday off. I can, like tomorrow, for example, I will look after Olivia all day. Like that. Dads don't do that. Fathers don't have that luxury. They don't. There's not that luxury across the world.
Yeah, I'd say the majority of dads don't. Like there's pockets of.
But exactly, that's my point. My point is that the majority of people do not have control over their own time. And if time is the most valuable asset that we possess, like I have that how I want it.
Yeah.
You know, from like even other little things. I can not work for a year. You know, and I feel lucky. I feel like I'm super lucky that is. I mean, that obviously attaches to a certain amount of money that I need to require to be able to keep up, right? But like, I don't have to, and that's time that I can do whatever I want.
Yeah.
So, yeah, time for me, I think, is my greatest wealth. What's yours?
Nice. Cheating a little bit. So, as I mentioned at the start of this,
cheating is your greatest wealth.
No, but on the back of the card, there's a QR code, and Mo Gaudat answered this question. So I listened to it, and yeah, I'm just going to copy his, but it was on the same kind of wavelength of mine. So he split the answer into 3 parts, and it's experience, knowledge, and love. And he's been a multi-millionaire. He's had all the fast cars, he's had all the big houses, multiple countries, yada yada yada. And people think of wealth nowadays is having cash in the bank or having, and I think more and more we're getting to the realization that that's not the case. So yeah, I would say that my top one is experiences. So being able to, we've got, like as I mentioned, a fun few weeks with the kids. We're planning a weekend at the Isle of Islay, which is 2.5 hours off the west coast of Scotland on a ferry. And yeah, just like giving maximum experiences to our kids. Obviously that could be fueled better, or it could be maybe not better experiences, but other different experiences with more money. But at the end of the day, like on our doorstep, what can we do? And yeah, I would say the greatest wealth is the experiences we have. Look back on.
And that comes with a bunch of stuff. Like, you've got to be able to have earned a certain amount. You've got to be able to have maintained a certain level of health.
Yeah, and have time and all that kind of stuff.
Because I was listening to Bill Perkins was on Chris Williamson's Modern Wisdom podcast, and I listened to the whole thing. And this is probably for another podcast, but it's like your ability to like feel wealthy, I guess, in this thing of love and time and whatever else, other things that potentially go into having wealth, is like it's a marriage of a few different products, and it's often to do with money and health. Like, do you have enough money to do the thing? Do you have enough health to do the thing?
Yeah.
Because when you're old, you're wealthy, like you're rich in terms of cash, but you're poor in terms of health. You know, like you're not going to be wakeboarding when you're 60.
Yeah.
But you might be able to afford the boat. So I guess it's kind of like, how do you spend your wealth into anyway? That's a whole other podcast, I guess.
It is. But interestingly, I mean, everyone's probably seen it, but the sad and devastating news of was it 5 people in that submersible that basically exploded? There were multi-billionaires in there, and there's a dad and his son. His son actually went to Glasgow University and was studying there. But yeah, the multi-billionaires have an abundance of money. I think it's like £250,000 to just go down there. When they realised something was wrong, they would have traded all their cash, all their money, to be able to just get to that surface and survive, essentially. So I think that's quite I can't remember, it was like a photo on Instagram I think I saw. Like all the money in the world, but they trade it for anything to be able to survive. And yeah, just put things into perspective, I guess.
Yeah, I'll still take some of the money.
Yeah, but
there's a certain threshold,
if
right?
you were in that situation, though, there's no doubt.
Sure, but we're not in those situations. Like that's, like it's regardless of how much money you have, you would trade whatever possession you have to not die. So that there is a certain threshold where like money does make you happy.
Yeah, I agree.
What we're discussing is like beyond that stage, like beyond that, they're well beyond money making them happy anymore. Like they're like, who spends £250,000 to go and see essentially a ship that's rotten and covered in mud?
Yeah, and the high chance of death.
It's ridiculous. Considering like how much would £250,000 pay in Africa for people to have clean water and whatever. Anyway, I'm sure we can poke holes in a lot of these things, but it just seems a little ridiculous. Anyway, thanks very much for listening to episode number 80 of the Developing Dads podcast. It's always good. Like, this is another good podcast. I was kind of a bit tired before I started this one, just because got up early with Olivia and cracking on. And Neil clearly had a small tantrum or a large tantrum with his twins and Isla. But yes, if you are listening, we do have an Instagram page, Developing Dads. Neil is reasonably regular on the old uploads. I need to sort out actually the YouTube stuff. There's not been much. They're uploaded, but they're just not published. You can follow us on Developing Dads on Instagram, and then also just search Developing Dads on YouTube, and you'll find us. You're probably listening to us on some platform on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or something like that. If you have any comments, questions, thoughts, please add on there. I don't know if we can we see those, Neil? Are you able to see the comments if anyone asks a question?
No idea. We'll get reviews, but I'd very rarely check.
Yeah. I mean, we're doing all right. We're doing like 30 downloads a month now, give or take, which is, absolutely flying, quite frankly. But yes, thanks very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed it.
We've got nine 5-star reviews on Spotify.
Do we?
Yeah.
Can we see who they are?
No.
Oh,
no.
Really? How do we know we've got 9 5-star
I've just looked at the public bit, and it's like 9 in the brackets with 5 stars.
Wow.
So I don't know if we can like log into Spotify podcast or whatever and see.
Well, I'd like to know. Share. Oh well. All right. Well, thanks very much for listening. Thanks for the 9 people that give us 5-star reviews. Very kind of you. If anyone is listening towards the end of this podcast, if you want to give us another one, make it 10. That'd be lovely. Thanks very much. And we'll see you, or at least speak to you, in the next episode. Cheers.
Cheers.